Welcome back to Solo Travel 1974. I'm a self-confessed cruise addict, and I'm fresh off the Regal Princess around the British Isles. This is your complete port guide. What I actually did, lessons learned, and essential tips for Falmouth, Cobh, Dublin, and Belfast. First up, Falmouth. Now, this is a tender port, which means the ship anchors a little way out, and you hop on a small boat to reach the shore. I always try to manage expectations with tenders, so I had breakfast first, then went to pick up a tender ticket. And to my delight, I got straight on. A super easy process this time. The ride into Falmouth itself took about 20 to 30 minutes, offering lovely views as you approach. When you arrive, don't expect a massive terminal. It's a charmingly small port setup with a few tents, a local RNLI stall, and the town crier welcoming everyone ashore. What a lovely, traditional British touch, especially for cruisers new to UK ports. There's a free shuttle bus that runs into town, or if you're like me and enjoy stretching your legs after being on the ship, you can walk it, and it takes about 10 minutes. As a solo traveller, I found the walk perfectly safe and a great way to soak in that fresh Cornish air. The shuttle drops you by the marina, which is bustling and pretty. There was a lively market on when we arrived, and the Maritime Museum is right there too. You can even watch some of the cruise tenders chugging back and forth, and lots of lovely boats about. The walk around the main town is really pleasant. Falmouth's High Street is packed with quirky independent shops and cosy cafes. And listen, when you're in Cornwall, you absolutely have to try a Cornish pasty. It's practically the law and so delicious. I wandered down to the beach after exploring the town. It was a bit blustery, as Cornwall often can be, but still beautiful, and I even spotted a few brave souls taking a dip. I didn't quite make it to Pendennis Castle on this trip, but if you're a castle enthusiast or haven't seen a proper British one before, it's a brilliant option with fantastic views. On the way back to the Regal Princess, I hopped straight onto a tender again, no wait at all, which was a bonus. However, the ride back was much bumpier. So, if you're prone to seasickness, definitely be aware of that and maybe take precautions. I found the Princess Cruises shore excursions to be really expensive, so I didn't book any of them on this cruise. I did my research and mostly made my own plans. Here are some of the top shore excursions available for Falmouth. Firstly, Land's End, one of the most iconic coastal spots in the UK, known for dramatic cliffs, panoramic views, and its famous signpost. A great choice if you fancy a scenic drive and want to say you've been to the most westerly point of mainland England. Another option is to visit Port Isaac, a charming fishing village made famous as the filming location for the TV series Doc Martin. Wander the narrow streets, enjoy the coastal scenery, and see places from the show. Another popular choice is to visit St Ives or St Michael's Mount. These are longer excursions taking you further afield. St Ives is a stunning seaside town, very arty. St Michael's Mount is that iconic tidal island with a medieval castle, but truly unique. If you're a garden lover, the Lost Gardens of Heligan are wonderful. Expect lush landscapes, subtropical plants, and a good amount of walking. Next up, Cobh, your gateway to Cork, and the brilliant news. Regal Princess docks right in Cobh, so no tendering here, which always makes life a little easier. You're literally steps from the town, and directly opposite the train station if you do want to head into Cork City. However, having been to Cork and Blarney Castle on previous trips to Ireland, I decided to stay local this time, and honestly, I'm so glad I did. Cobh, or Queenstown as it was known back then, holds a poignant piece of history. It was the final port of call for the Titanic. The town is steeped in this connection. There's a small but impactful Titanic Experience museum right by the port. It's incredibly popular, so definitely book your tickets ahead. I'll pop the link I used in the description below, inside. They give you a boarding pass with the name of an actual Titanic passenger. You only find out their fate at the end. It's incredibly moving and a really personal way to connect with the history. Have any of you visited the Titanic Experience in Cobh? or perhaps another Titanic museum? Let me know in the comments below. There's also a Titanic memorial garden and wall, just a short, reflective 10 to 15 minute walk through the town. And if you fancy your first pint of authentic Guinness in Ireland, Cobh has plenty of cosy, traditional pubs. And here's a savvy tip for your cruise budget. Prices are often much friendlier here than in Dublin. Cobb's St. Colman's Cathedral is absolutely stunning and well worth the uphill walk. The views are a bonus. And for all you Instagrammers, don't miss the iconic brightly coloured deck of cards houses. They're a must snap. The weather wasn't exactly on my side during my visit, a bit grey and drizzly, but I genuinely loved exploring Cobh. It's compact, the locals are incredibly friendly, and it's so rich in stories. If you want to head further afield, here are some great shore excursion options for you. Blarney Castle and Cork City, a true classic. You'll get to kiss the Blarney Stone if you don't mind those narrow, winding steps. Cork City itself is great for shopping and a bite to eat. You can head to Cork from Cobh on the train easily, as I mentioned earlier. So, if you want a larger town or city to explore, but don't want to pay for a shore excursion, Cork is really easy to do on your own. Kinsale Coastal Town Tour, a beautiful, picturesque fishing town known for its vibrant streets and excellent food scene. Very photogenic. On to Dublin. Here, we tended again. This time into Dún Laoghaire, which is a lovely coastal town about 30 minutes south of Dublin city itself. Like Falmouth, the tendering process was simple and quick. Once ashore, there's a small, efficient cruise terminal with helpful staff on hand to answer questions. Now, getting into Dublin city itself is super easy, so don't be put off by doing it yourself. I'd pre-booked a hop-on, hop-off bus tour through Get Your Guide, which cleverly included the Dart train ticket from Dún Laoghaire right into Dublin. I'll link that specific one below. It was a lifesaver. It's a brisk 5-minute walk from the tender drop-off to the Dart station, and then a scenic 20-minute train ride. The bus stop is conveniently right outside Pearse Street station. Super easy, especially as a solo traveller trying to navigate a new arrival spot. I've actually visited Dublin several times, including the Guinness Factory Tour, which is amazing by the way, so this was more of a revisit for me. I didn't go inside the storehouse this time. But if it's your first visit to Dublin, book your Guinness tickets well in advance as it sells out incredibly quickly. Same goes for the Book of Kells at Trinity College. Lesson learned there, even as a seasoned traveller. Sometimes I mistime things, and I left it too late to book. After the bus tour, I enjoyed a wander around the bustling Grafton Street for a bit of window shopping, popped into a few pubs in Temple Bar to soak up some fantastic live Irish music, then strolled back to Pearse Street for the train. Caught the tender back to the ship with no issues. For me, it was a perfect mix of efficient sightseeing and soaking up that unique Dublin atmosphere. And here are some specific tours you can do while you are in Dublin. Guinness Storehouse Experience. Hugely popular for a reason, and you must book ahead. It's a timed entry, and you'll get the full tour plus that famous pint in the Gravity Bar with panoramic city views. Dublin Highlights Coach Tour. If lots of walking isn't your thing, a dedicated coach tour is a great way to see a lot of the city without too much physical exertion. Jameson Distillery Bow Street. If you prefer whiskey to Guinness, then this is the tour for you. The tasting is lots of fun, and you learn so much about the rich history of Irish whiskey making. Our final port was Belfast. The Regal Princess docks here, but it's important to know the terminal is in an industrial area, a bit out from the city centre. There's a paid shuttle service into town, or you can easily grab an Uber. I used Uber later in the day to get back from the Titanic Museum. It was quick, convenient, and only about £10. For Belfast, I pre-booked a full-day tour through a company called Belfast Causeway Tours after spotting them recommended in a Facebook group specifically for my cruise. This is a great tip for fellow cruisers, and those groups can be goldmines for local tour info. And honestly, this tour was the absolute highlight of my entire British Isles trip. If you love dramatic scenery, fascinating history, or happen to be a Game of Thrones fan, you will adore this. Here's a whirlwind of what we covered. It was an incredible day. And the weather was glorious as well. Our first stop was Carrickfergus Castle. It is one of the best preserved medieval structures in Northern Ireland. And it is a stunning castle, right on the harbour, rich history and amazing photos. From there, we enjoyed a breathtaking scenic drive along the glens of Antrim, passing through charming villages and past dramatic coastal cliffs. The views were just spectacular. Next was a stop to admire the historic walls of Glenarm Castle. The surrounding village is also beautiful and full of character. At Cornwall Harbour, we had a brief stop to stretch our legs and enjoy views of this peaceful fishing village, which Game of Thrones fans might recognise as the city of Bravos. Then we headed to the viewpoint for the Carrick-Reed Rope Bridge. We didn't cross it, that requires separate tickets and more time, but the views of the cliffs and the turquoise ocean were incredible. Ballintoy Harbour was another Game of Thrones filming site. Hello Iron Islands, and just had that rugged, wild Northern Irish charm, with crashing waves and dramatic sea stacks. Dunseverick Castle ruins were next, perched precariously on the edge of a cliff. Though just remnants remain, it's a very atmospheric site with sweeping sea views. Of course, a major highlight was the Giant's Causeway. These incredible hexagonal columns are free to visit and walk on, though the visitor centre has an entry fee. It's like stepping onto another planet, truly awe-inspiring. After that, we stopped at a viewpoint overlooking Dún Laoghaire Castle. It's perched so dramatically on the cliff edge, a fantastic photo opportunity. The drive along the coast to each stop was also beautiful and a great way to see Northern Ireland. Finally, we ended with a visit to the Dark Hedges, that iconic avenue of ancient beech trees made famous by Game of Thrones as the King's Road. It was the perfect atmospheric final stop before heading back towards Belfast. At the end of this incredible day, the tour also included a drive through the political murals of Belfast, seeing the Falls and Shankill roads, the Peace Wall, and hearing about the Troubles from a local perspective. It was sobering, powerful, but incredibly important for understanding the city's recent history. As we had a late departure from Belfast, I also managed to fit time in to see the Belfast Titanic Museum, and our guide Brian dropped us off there. Again, pre-booking is absolutely essential for Titanic Belfast. This place is huge, incredibly well done, and very popular. It gets busy, but it is so worth it. You'll want at least 90 minutes. Trust me on this one, from years of rushing through museums. This excursion packed an unbelievable amount in. I'll link to the tour company in the description, and do keep an eye on those cruise-specific Facebook groups. Tours like these are often advertised there. If you don't fancy doing a full-day tour of Northern Ireland like I did, there are still some brilliant options that keep you closer to Belfast. Titanic Museum and Dock Tour. If you'd rather not stray too far from the city centre, this is the absolute must-do. The museum is world-class and tells the story of Titanic, where it all began. Belfast Murals and Political History Tour. A shorter, but incredibly powerful experience. You'll hear the story of the Troubles, see the Peace Wall up close, and visit both the Shankill and Falls roads. It really gives you context to Belfast's recent history. Game of Thrones filming locations tour. Perfect if you're a fan of the series. This one takes you to places like the Dark Hedges and Ballintoy Harbour, some of the most recognisable and dramatic filming spots in Northern Ireland. And that's your complete British Isles port guide from my Regal Princess adventure. Each stop offered its own magic. Cornish pasties, castles, poignant Irish and maritime history, and those dramatic coastlines. If you found these tips helpful, for more insider cruise port guides and honest reviews, make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell. Up next, we're swapping British and Irish charm for Caribbean sunshine. My P and O Britannia port by Port Guide is coming soon. Starting next week in Barbados.